Hi, Somto. Welcome to Rooted and Rising. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you so much, Trauma. How you doing?
I'm good, good. How are you doing? How are you today?
Good, fine. It's beautiful weather.
Yeah,
Um,
you're enjoying Canada, Abby.
yeah, well, let's say,
I know. Thank God. Okay, cool, cool. Well, thanks again for being here. I really appreciate you joining us today on the podcast. I think let's go ahead and dive in. I wanted to maybe we can first start with just a quick introduction to our audience. So, who is Somto in 2 to 3 words?
Somto is I'm a development professional, quite a number of experience working within the international development space. I'm also experienced in ethics and basically looking towards ensuring that artificial intelligence works for public good.
Okay.
I like spending time with my family, especially my son, and yeah, anything that will advance humanity, count me in.
Oh, shit. Okay, okay. Nice one, nice one. So before we dive into all that, I
Mhm.
don't even honestly remember how we met, to be fair. I feel like it might have been through somebody, or maybe it was just LinkedIn. I honestly don't remember.
I think it was Instagram, right?
Was it Instagram? Okay, maybe it was Instagram.
I think Instagram, and we kind of had a lot of mutual friends.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think we worked in the same industry,
Oh,
so
yeah.
uh,
Yeah, because Niger public health circles are kind of small to a degree, to a degree. But I think since we've known each other, we've always like kind of stayed close, have a very like brother sister relationship. So yeah, it's been great. I do want to ask maybe before we dive into your professional journey and your personal journey, what's a surprising or little known fact about you that people don't know?
oh, interesting question. Nobody has actually asked me this. Well, I don't think there's anything surprising about me. Well, I could add that I'm such an amazing cook.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. So, and I'm also thinking, hopefully, I'm going to start cooking content very soon.
Oh, okay. So you want to join the content, the cooking people. Okay,
Yeah,
nice one. I like that.
type yeah, something different about it.
Okay, cool, cool, nice. And so let's talk about your backgrounds. Kind of already said you're Nigerian, but let's talk about maybe your personal background. Where did you grow up? And what you're doing now. Is that what you wanted to do when you were growing up?
Oh, interesting. Well, I grew up in a small city called Enugu, call it called the cool city.
Oh, for two.
Ofotsu, yes. And the city, very beautiful city, really kind of made up of a lot of civil servants, and yes, I grew up. I've always wanted to really work in the international space and maybe as a diplomat,
Mm-hmm.
so it's always been, what I've always wanted to do. And and at some point, also had a lot of also am I going to say volunteer also experience in terms of any project that really works towards non-profits,
Okay.
mm, basically social entrepreneurship kind of projects that really has a whole lot of impact
Mm-hmm.
and the human race. So I've always, done that while at the university, while growing up, a lot of volunteering, project on youth development. At very, very early stage, I was able to start up an organization which was African Youth Organization at the Cool City, which we really worked in project around advocating for, leadership among young people and also the effect of HIV/AIDS, on young people and why young people should stay safe and all that. That project was done in, I left secondary school and I worked with a lot of older people, right?
Okay.
Yeah, chairman, launched, a couple of projects, conferences at then, and sometimes people, I remember when we had an event and we had some people from the government and they thought I was done with university and my mom was like, no, he's still
You said small boy.
I'm very about getting to the university. So
Mm-hmm.
I think pretty from early part of my life, I've always found myself leading people, organizing. Also, in secondary school, I also played some, key roles in the road safety group. What again? I think that
Is
association
it
something.
is
You
it no, it's not federal road safety.
you have the press club, you have the friend club. So at that time, we started what we called. I think it was the first time we started a road safety club.
So it's not man of war. That's a different.
And it wasn't Manoa, it was
Okay.
federal government college in Mbelu.
Okay. Okay.
It was basically, safety, and all that, right? Okay.
Okay.
So it was quite interesting, and we did a couple of events those days at Federal Government College. And over the years, I've really worked in, finding myself, working with people, organizing, but
Mm-hmm.
the very, aim of, anything basically that will advance human development. So
Okay. That's so interesting. So you've really been in this thing for a while since you were young.
yes, yes, yes. I've really been in it for quite a long time. Even went to the university, joined the Student in Free Enterprise. It was called SIFE as at then, but
Hmm.
and I think it's now changed to Inactus. You know,
Okay.
yeah, it's a student body really made up of young social entrepreneurs and implemented a whole lot of youth development projects those days in the university, right? And out of the university, worked with
So sorry, what did you study in university?
yeah, so I studied business administration.
Okay. Business
Yeah, I
management.
studied business administration and management at the University of Abuja. So, uh,
Okay. Okay.
so after that, yeah, graduation, NYC, worked with a couple of youth development organizations, contributing voluntarily like Guidance of Nations International, Dr. Linus Okorie. We implemented a couple of youth projects, and it's been quite exciting, and also wrote a book which was called Pathways to Uncommon Progress.
Wow.
Pathways to, Pathways to Uncommon Greatness. Yeah, it was
Yes.
the
Okay.
development book. It was quite interesting because we eventually launched that book and we had a whole lot of people from Senate and the government, come launch that book.
Wow. So you're an author. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm an author.
Okay. Okay. So let's talk about business administration into public health comms and now AI tech governance ethics. Like what kind of led you, first of all, into communications and advocacy in public health?
Well, it's very, very interesting because, studying business admin, I never for once really saw myself in the medical field, right? I was thinking more of, social entrepreneurship projects, business and projects, because I remember when I graduated from school, I asked my dad that I wanted to do business and I joined one of my uncles, who was into contracting, I worked
Hmm.
with him and that was my first, experience and, in the workspace, learning how to run contracting documents, and also business because it was
So
very,
would you say that's like a form of,
mm,
how people talk about like the Igbo apprenticeship?
yeah, 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 kind of, because I remember the man saying he sees a lot of, prospects in me. Then I could learn how the business is done and, and all that. So, I worked with him a couple of years, but the saying that sometimes some things you've been called to do can keep on
Hmm.
somehow, drawing you. And yeah, and but at the same, I found that I had very good, interest in communications. Looking that I grew up in a communications environment. My dad retired as director marketing at the Radio Nigeria. So while we were kids, we were so close to the radio, so close to the TV. We attended a lot of, children radio programs, youth radio programs, and also read a lot of newspapers. My mom
Hmm.
is also a lecturer too, and also an artist.
Okay, I see.
She has a PhD in arts, and my mom, being an artist, really put me into that creative kind of circle, right? And then I started developing interest in comms and marketing, and all that. But, I remember saying to myself, what first other base can you really use these skills if
Yeah.
development? And also, being that someone also had access to the book I wrote at the USID, and I was recommended as, to come work as knowledge management, and comms, you know, specialist, for a project, so that was what got me into health.
Oh,
It was a full cycle because
full circle. Yeah.
yeah, love
So,
and yeah, and all that. So everything kind of came you know, came in kind of naturally and all that.
okay. And so you were supporting a USAID project, which,
Yes,
as we
yes,
now
yes.
know, USAID is poor as
But
an independent
unfortunately,
agency,
unfortunately.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Maybe before we move from that, just because I think it's an important point to bring up, what are your thoughts about, what the things that have happened regarding the dismantling of USAID and maybe just how it
Well,
potentially could impact Nigeria?
I think nothing lasts forever, right?
Yeah.
Even human life has a span, right? So something will eventually move and then something new comes. And that's why the project I worked on was the USID Health Financing and Governance Project, which
Sure.
was advanced, conversations around domestic resource mobilization for healthcare. Already we saw that the funds were dwindling and sometime, those funds will stop coming somehow. And that was why we had moving conversations. How do governments increase their spending on health? What are ways that we could be creative enough to really save money or get more money to healthcare? We saw that, and that was what majorly we did on that project. And the USID going, I think, is also mixed feelings in terms of a lot of positives and also a lot of negative part of it. But I think to every problem, there is a lot of positives to learn from it. And the idea is that time for Africa to, especially Nigeria, to take charge, run their own destiny. Let it not rely on any foreign body. So
Yeah, that's a good point. Very important. I think we need to start pushing for more domestic financing and less reliance on international donors.
yes.
But still an unfortunate situation, maybe the way it happened and how quickly it happened. So yeah, but so let's move back to you. Just talking about your background. So how can you share maybe a pivotal project or a moment in your career that you feel maybe shaped your current interests?
Oh, interesting. So sometime 2029, because at some point I moved to Amsterdam and the Netherlands to do my
Hmm.
master's program. But I've always wanted to do a PhD, maybe somehow in communications, for healthcare. It's always been the initial plan, right? After my master's, I was okay, what next, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to look out for fundings and look out for opportunities to really, advance this PhD because I was so passionate about how do we use communications to really, advance conversations around universal health care coverage. And it's also what I did in my master's program. But at one conference organized, by my then organization, then I met a professor, Professor Payala Arora, and we kind of clicked. And she was a professor of, inclusive design and AI and all that.
Okay.
We had that first. It was a conversations around how she feels around Africa being explored, global South being kind of exploited of data and how countries should start looking out for how do we, ensure that the data for digital and AI platforms are localized and also owned by, people who, give out this data and, putting the right laws in place and all that.
Mhm.
But an opportunity came and she's like, oh, let's do this. Asked me to go do a proposal, but I couldn't get the concept there because back then in 2019, many people weren't talking about AI ethics and
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
even the AI worried that much,
Yeah.
So imagine how difficult the research would be then in terms of trying to get a whole lot of information on.
But
So
at the same time, you're like ahead of the curve, right?
yes, yes,
Now,
yes. Yeah, I was it was very exciting. Although I did the proposal 2 or 3 times and she taught them, pager or the proposals and she sent them back to me saying that no, because I was still wrangling around universal health coverage and communications until I was able to get what she was saying and then we're able to, come out with title, the ethical concerns in designing artificial intelligence and enabled health insurance platforms in Nigeria. So she was like, "Yes, I think you had it, you got it now." And of course, I started, understanding the topic. And being that I'm more of an Afro optimist, and also I believe in very strongly in translating research into
hmm
practical terms, I felt that that was the next course for me, right?
hmm
It was more than a PhD program. It became a passion, because I felt that if Africa, not just Africa, globally, that it's very important that we all, own our data, understand what our data is being used, and then
exactly.
the design of AI platforms, and that was what inspired my research work, and of course, the work I'm looking to do now.
Okay, wow, that's amazing. That's a very interesting like transition
Yeah.
from what you were doing to what you're doing now. So I think that's important. So I
And it
guess
was
go ahead,
Sorry,
sorry.
but it was interesting that also I was working and I was also doing the research work. And the organization I was working with Farm Access Foundation, was already far ahead in using digital technology and advancing healthcare and building different digital platforms and AI platforms and all that. So it was very, very close to what I was researching on,
Researching. Yeah.
which I made in heaven. So it was kind of very, very easy to really, work, align both.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's amazing. So so I guess with all that being said, how do you see the relationship between public health and technology evolving from when you started in your career to now?
A lot has happened. A lot
Yeah.
has happened because when I started my research work, you barely find a whole lot of platforms on AI. The ones that were there weren't much of core AI, you know, especially in Nigeria. And also conversations around AI laws and governance wasn't that much. It was more around designing and deploying, which pretty much that's what's still happening now.
hmm
But over the years, there are more of advocacy around this conversation. Nigeria has moved forward to have an AI strategy, which I also see that
Oh, that's good.
responsible use of AI is also part of the conversation of that strategy.
hmm
Uh, I also think that in terms of development of strategy around this and development of these platforms, weren't there, but now
hmm
institutions are coming up, fundings are coming up for research on this topic and all that. So pretty much a whole lot of things, have started happening, and the conversations are more, it's more than it was, many years ago. But I'm excited to be, part of the few that really started these conversations, and
Yeah.
I'm excited to also, see the future in terms of ensuring that as artificial intelligence, move, especially in a very delicate area of healthcare,
Mhm.
it's very important that there are, user-centric laws, contextual laws, to go along with the use of these platforms.
So for those that aren't very familiar with some of the things that you're saying, like when you say responsible use of AI, what are you actually like? What does that mean?
Responsible use of artificial intelligence basically means how do we ensure, that the platforms doesn't work against the human race, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just going to push it that way. How do we ensure that as we're so excited in using these AI platforms, these digital tools, how do
hmm
we ensure that it works for the good of everyone?
hmm
This includes the design of this. So it's divided in 3 ways, policymakers, the
hmm
designers, and the users.
hmm
How do we ensure that the designers, are designing with some, contextual, frameworks or
hmm
guidelines or laws, for where this platform will be used. So some of these platforms can be designed in the US,
Mm-hmm.
Somehow people in Nigeria might be using these platforms.
I see. So it needs to be like culturally contextual to what it's
Yes, for how it's being used, right?
being.
And that's to say, people who are designing this be able to design responsibly in such a way that ensure that whoever that will use these platforms are taking along the journey of the design of this platform and coming to the users, ensuring that the users themselves
Mm-hmm.
contribute to design of this platform, right? And not also, secondly, take advantage of these platforms. We also see the conversations around deepfake, people turning some images. Recently, there was a photo of a star online on Twitter, and people used the AI to undress and take off the
Really? Wow.
yeah. So these
Wow.
are core conversations around deep fakes and all that, and I have that a lot of things that happen on the dark webs. It's where people take photos of people that they know and
Mhm.
they kind of change
Same.
their images and put on somebody on them.
Yeah.
So these are the harms that we're talking about. These are the users. And also in terms of policymakers, how do policymakers play some good roles in ensuring that they lead the conversations around the design and the deployment of these platforms, make
Mhm.
the right laws, put these conversations on the front burner, also
Okay.
make it a kind of civic conversation, and also conversation around inclusivity.
Yeah.
AI is moving, ChatGPT and all those things. What happens to the seniors, young people who cannot afford to pay for this platform? What happens to the older people who do not know how to use this platform?
How to use them.
Very, everything will be done on this platform. So there
Hmm.
are conversations around inclusion. So the conversations are a lot, that different,
Interesting. That's so interesting. That's there's so much around artificial intelligence that we're still learning and still kind of understanding and how it affects our world on a day-to-day basis. I know even myself when I'm on social media and I see things now, I don't even know what's real and what's fake. Like sometimes you have to really be discerning in
yes.
what's, and that's important for even relaying information. So I think this is really important work. So before we maybe keep talking about that, I want to shift a bit and talk about fatherhood and
Okay.
identity because you mentioned earlier that you like spending time with your son. And I remember, I feel like the last time I saw you, he wasn't born yet, but he was still in your wife's belly at the time. But and now he's running around and a big boy. But I wanted to ask maybe like what was it like becoming a father?
Becoming a father is kind of very emotional to me,
Mhm.
because it was it's also a very moment of understanding more of yourself, self-awareness, self-identity, and also understanding your parents more, right? It's a
Mm.
circle, it kind of, you now feel you're responsible for someone, right? You understand that some of the things you did as a child, your son is already, that you did, and you blamed probably your parents, maybe the way they reacted in some way, and you felt they were being too harsh and all that. But having a son now will make you understand that some of those things are natural, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a full circle, right?
Yeah.
And you also get to see that it's almost the same thing, right? Somehow the way your parents acted, it's not really out of place, but also because of the connections they had with you. And
Hmm.
having a son seeing that, oh, yeah, I think I understand now. I'm a father, but it's also very exciting, and try as much as possible to spend time with my son, just be that present father, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of the most important job in the world, right? Because I believe if we want to make the world a better place, it should come from, parents, and
Hmm.
have to play the role of, building, coaching more responsible people who will go to do that the same. So it's kind of ripple effect, right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's why I pray to really have a job or do something that I can really control,
Hmm.
that I can have time, for family, which is, well, one of the most important and most happy things that I love doing.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I see all you guys' pictures and oh, I love that you guys always make time for like family activity. So are there things that as a father right now, when you think about your own father, are there things that your father did that you are replicating with your son? And are there things that you're kind of like, maybe not so much this level, a little differently?
No, well, two of us know that our generations are different,
Yes.
right? We grew up in a generation where we saw our fathers as very tough. We saw our fathers as, like they feel like they couldn't quite the things fall apart, you know. Our mothers also believe that if the fathers are not like that, they have not been able to exercise and exert their full
Authority.
ability and all. Yeah, so I think it's a mix of both, right? And to also say that, there is no perfect person, right? And I'm sure I might not also be a perfect father because
Mhm,
somehow
mhm.
one day my son might also say there are things he also want to more improve in my own style of parenting. So I think our parents have done their bit. So the idea is for us to, take what we believe we are the best way, take up with those ones and also tweak, a little more of the ones that will feel that needs to be improved in this generation, right? Because we also understand that we are in a generation of Gen Zs, Gen and Alphas, artificial intelligence. So a whole lot of the way things are being done in the past, are not the way they have been done. In fact, I saw a video when a CEO was telling a Chinese CEO was telling a minister, one foreign country that you see these Gen Zs that if you don't treat them well, they don't come to work. Live in a generation that if you don't treat them well, they'll drag you on IG, they'll drag you on internet and all that. Many years ago, it wasn't like this. Our parents will work 30 years, 20, and endure everything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But things are changing, right? And that's why we are educated. We should also enjoy how do we ensure that we keep our heritage, we keep those beautiful cultural way our parents trained us, but also being very flexible enough to align it with the times that we are in. But at the same time, not losing our identity and losing ourselves.
Yeah, that's a really great response, and I completely agree. I think I mean, everything you said is absolutely correct. And I think about even you saying like you are, because now you're a father, you're kind of prioritizing family time
Yeah.
and making sure that whatever work you're doing still has time to, you still put in time to like spend time with your son and your spouse and all those things. So I think that's really important. And that obviously has shifted your perspective, I would say, right? Professionally and personally. So maybe just the last thing on this is like, what values are you hoping to pass on to your children,
Well,
the future?
well, I think one is the value of hard work, right? Hard work is very important, right? And hard work. If you work hard and put your mind to things that you want to do, somehow it's going to work. Values are consistency, and that you do something today, it doesn't work, doesn't mean that it's not right. How do you, tweak a little bit, but stay consistent in what you're building, right? And also, values of kindness, right? Kindness, and that's why, you ensure that you be kind to your children and allow them to grow in an environment of love and trust, and very good communication, right? So, because like I mentioned earlier, if we want to build a better world, we have to ensure that we produce better people. So
Very true.
these are the core things, I'm looking at, kindness, hard work, consistency. These are things that if you really apply them, find out sometimes, most times a whole lot of things will also, add up.
Yeah, yeah. And I think a lot of times we want to change, like we always think about changing the world and changing things beyond, but like the things that are within your control, like your family and your children, like you can start there, right?
Yeah,
And that's the way to
yeah,
make changes. So let's move to like, current immigration, life transitions. You've had a big move recently
yeah,
in
yeah.
life. So I wanted to maybe ask kind of what inspired your move from Nigeria to Canada.
Well, that's a big question. This is my second time of moving. I've always been a pro-Nigerian person. In fact, after graduation, I never wanted to leave the shores of Nigeria. But at the time, as you move on, you find out that some things are necessary. So I had to move to get a master's degree. And then After my master's degree, I decided to come back again, but I had in mind that I'm going to move someday again. After spending some few years in Nigeria, I also discovered that, the world is becoming a global village, right? And then you also want your family to have that experience too, right? And of course, that was also what inspired us to move. And also myself and my wife and who's Amaka, we love traveling. Something we've always, we've always, talked about during our courting and dating days that we really want to really explore the world and travel. And of course, looking at what is happening in our country and the power of our passport.
Yeah, yeah,
You might really not achieve that much.
yeah, yeah,
People do that. I'm not saying it's not possible, but also coming over and having a second option will also help us to really not only contribute to where we find ourselves, but opportunity to also explore the world.
yeah, yeah. That's important, and of course, opportunities for for your child and your children in the future to expand their worldview as well. But since you've moved, I don't know how long has the move been like?
It's been like 8 months now going.
8 months. Okay, so it's still kind of fresh. What are some of the biggest surprises or challenges that you have faced so far?
Well, the biggest, surprises that we have faced is challenges of unemployment, right?
Yeah.
It's I think since the COVID-19, the world has kind of reset, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you're looking to work for someone or find something to do. It's not really the way it is before, right?
Yeah.
It's even though people are saying, artificial intelligence, people are working online, but somehow, the other works is not free. People have, the opportunities are no more there as it's been before.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think employment, is quite a thing. And that's why I said if you're really looking at moving abroad, you should also, ensure you have a
Mhm.
skill set, not only a skill set, but also, um, start planning on how to really, do your own thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's not easy, but if you have that mindset from, coming, it kind of makes everything much, easier.
Easier. So you talked about employment, which definitely understand. I think even, a long time ago, but even when we moved from Nigeria when I was younger, my mom, that was something that she struggled with. And I think right now the world is just kind of in a very interesting place when it comes to jobs, and
Yes.
job market is just
Uh,
very,
so I think
yeah,
I think globally the job market it's not
not what it used to be exactly.
yeah. So now I think people have to be more creative.
Yes.
People have to also niche down. You know, it's not really a time to be a generalist. I think it's also a time to start looking at what problem you really want to solve.
Hmm.
And carry that on your head and be bringing it down on people.
Hmm.
And I'm sure somehow you'll be called to the table. To really, have
Yeah.
conversations around what you want to.
Yeah. And then maybe on the positive side, what are some positive things that you all have experienced since you've moved there?
Well, Um, you'll be spend more time with your family. Working in development work, over the years, I've traveled a lot, traveled and, on the plane, but now you get to spend more time with your family. And also, it's also a time for retrospect, right?
Hmm.
Because um, you also start looking out for, what can do?
Hmm.
What can you build? What value can you also give? And all that. Also, I think the peace of mind, right? Which is the
Yeah.
most important thing, right?
Yeah.
Peace of mind, being able to just sleep and, wake up and, you're not really worried about some, security issues and,
Security. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, all that. But aside from that, being that I've lived in the Western world, so not really much surprises.
Okay, that's good. And do you think that your sense of identity has shifted since you moved?
No, I'm a culturally Igbo man. And, ndị Igbo tili ilu sị na nwamba adịghị efu na mba. So no matter how far you go, you know where you're coming from.
Exactly.
So we also a bit worried, about our children, right? A bit worried about our children, and I have conversation with Uzamaka and say, hopefully at some point we have to, go back, so that these children will at least have some idea of what they are coming from,
But they're from, yeah,
which is very, very important. So it
yeah.
doesn't mean that they lost identity. And when they ask them where are they from, they say, oh, I'm a Canadian, but
Mhm.
my parents immigrated sometime here from. So we don't want that.
That's the one we start like you hear people say, "Oh, my parents are Nigerian, but I'm from here." You'd be like, "Oh,
Uh,
okay."
exactly, exactly. So I think yeah, these are things that we really have to, look into.
Okay, okay, that's good. So let's maybe talk about looking ahead. You talked about your work in AI governance and ethics. So, maybe talk a little bit more about that. What are you currently exploring or working on that is exciting to you right now?
Yeah, also nice. We're building a very exciting community, participation non-profit, which is I founded a non-profit. It's called the Ottawa Responsible AI Hub, because we believe that um we need to push these conversations. These conversations are a lot,
Hmm.
have, so we have to start thinking of how do we bring this conversation more at the community center and grow locally and grow globally. So federally registered a nonprofit in Canada,
Lovely.
that advances conversations around AI literacy, AI advocacy, and then we also have some very nice AI project, inclusion project for seniors and also entrepreneurs, because we also believe that as entrepreneurs are building platforms, it's also good to understand that as we are building, we have to have it in mind that we also have to build, responsibly and ethically, right? And we also, for young people, we also want to ensure that, they also understand what it means to stay safe online, use the internet safely, and use this platform safely and not for the other. So we have one for the older women and the older seniors,
No.
called the AI for all, where we are looking at, having soft AI, lectures with them, very interactive courses on lectures, workshops on fraud detection, how they can detect when AI is being using with all false for voice, AI platform using to defraud them of their pensions and all that.
Yeah.
So we have these workshops partnering with community centers to really,
Wow.
have these workshops and all that. But the two exciting events that we have, we call the AI Talks.
Mhm.
Not our responsible AI talk, which is a TED style conversation on quarterly, and we are planning for our inaugural one at the first week of September. We'll
Mhm.
have two people who are doing an amazing job within the responsible AI space to come talk about what they are doing, and then we'll have some, question and answer section, with them, and all that. And the second one is the Ottawa Responsible AI Summit.
Okay.
A desire that we want the whole world to come to Ottawa every year for the Ottawa Responsible AI Summit. We want to bridge the gap between the academia and the outside world. We have governors, ministers, prime ministers to all come to Ottawa every year to really have conversations around responsible use of artificial intelligence. How do we make better laws? How do people be involved? So we're going to have different tracks, of this conversation. So this year, we're having the first edition in the first week of October. So these are the exciting things we are planning, and not easy building with less resources, but we keep on trying.
So you talked, I think, I mean, this is just like a really wonderful initiative that you're working on. What are your thoughts around like looking at funding and how do you plan to approach that? Because I think with anything, you need money to.
Already, I'm lucky that I have people who have volunteered and are really working so hard with me. Very,
Hmm.
very, wonderful guys, and we're already looking out for funding,
Okay.
possibility of funding, but we're trying as much as possible to see what we can do first, because it's always important to have pilots activities first, and then
Yeah, so you can include that in your any
uh,
applications. Yeah.
easier because when you have meetings and with people, it's quite difficult. But with my experience over the years, I think if you trust as hard as possible to make things happen, at some point people will start reaching out to you without even you making the connection to see how to partner with you. But it's been a lot of meetings, a lot of conversations with different government institutions, different partners, how they can come in, how they can partner to really make this a success. But we'll keep trying.
That's really wonderful. Congratulations. I think, I was going to ask you a question about maybe what's a big dream or a hope that you're holding on to for yourself or your family. I feel like this sounds like it, but is there anything else that you're currently
Yeah, this,
holding
yeah,
on to?
this is the non-profit arm of what I do.
Yeah.
But I'm also, hoping and planning very soon to have my own consultancy,
Okay.
and firm, which we are working on now.
Okay.
What we want to do is to partner with universities, to, develop courses on, AI ethics, and responsible AI. Uh,
Okay.
we're also working to train act as contractors to government institutions to conduct workshop and trainings, for them. And basically, play well in the AI ethics space, as so. But this is what we're looking for. But like I mentioned, it's kind of slow because all these things require money, and I'm also working analyzing my PhD, which
Mm.
have submitted, done with submission of thesis, with scaled through the our necessary academic approvals, just waiting for the final committee, and then we could have our graduation stroke defense. So
You're a busy man. I don't know this thing you're talking about. You're doing AI governance, you're doing responsible Ottawa AI, you're doing PhD, you're a father, you're a husband. I don't like you're acting like you're not doing anything, but you're doing so much.
if you say so, I could.
No, no, it's great. And I think that, all of these things will be successful because I've known you for a while and I know that you are always one thing about you I feel is that you're always working on something. You always have
I know we are building something like that in Nigeria. That was the already plan we had for Nigeria. I left the ecosystem, in Nigeria. I was like, okay, let's start from here. And then
Mhm.
time you understand, we could easily activate, the Nigerian project because it's the same thing. The government wasn't kind enough to really give us the name we wanted for Nigeria.
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean, you'll start somewhere and then you leverage that. So I think let's try and wrap up here. Maybe the last questions I ask is we've talked about your background, education, the things you're working on, family. I guess any maybe final advice for others that are navigating transitions, career pivots, just change in general. What would your advice be for them?
I'll just say make your life interesting. Life is very, very interesting, but you have the opportunity to make it interesting, right?
Mm,
And then sometimes we want things to happen the way we want it, right? We want things to happen the way we want it. We're hoping that things will happen exactly, but sometimes it might not happen the way we want it. Instead of, asking for a platform, why not build that platform for yourself?
that's true.
And also, sometime when you are in the time of pain, is also and a time to build something meaningful. All right.
Mm,
So you don't waste your pain, right? If you take all, wonderful innovations and wonderful ideas, if you research that have come out, most of those things were built not really the place of comfort. It was
mm,
a place of pain and a place of need and a place of want. And that's where a lot of wonderful ideas and innovations comes out. So
that's true.
whatever one is going through or whatever situation you want yourself, I think make it very useful as much as possible to say, oh, I don't want to get out of this whole situation without looking back and say, why I was in this, I learned this, I was able to
Yeah.
do this,
Yeah.
and that's what makes life interesting,
Mm,
Life is all ups and downs, times of plenty,
Peaks
times
and
of
valleys.
light and all that. But those are
Yeah.
things that make life interesting, and those are things when you look back and you could say, oh, when this was this, when this was this. So count it all joy and enjoy every moment, make every moment count, and make sure that at every point in time and whatever situation you find yourself, make sure you make out the best out of it. It will not always
Definitely.
be that way. Then better days are always ahead.
Yeah, yeah, that is great advice. Make your life interesting. I love that. So my last question, this is a question I pose to all the guests. What is one song that best describes your life right now and why?
Oh, I don't really have any songs. That's a very funny. That's a very interesting. I don't really have any song in mind.
Okay.
So maybe when I listen to them, I could have
You think about it.
remember, but I don't really have any song in mind. My head is too busy thinking of plenty things to think about. So
Thinking about any.
yeah, so
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, well, Somto, thank you so much for being a guest today. I enjoyed our conversation. I hope you enjoyed it as well. And I just want to say, like, obviously, you've been a very good friend. I feel like you're one of those people that every time I text to be like, hey, you want to do this? You're like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Like you're always like, yes, let's do it.
then it's the vice versa.
Yeah.
Basically, when you have friends that are always encouraging you, it's you're a lucky person. So life is always make sure you have positive people around you, people you
Great.
encourage, support each other and all that. That is the essence of life. So
Mm-hmm.
we also appreciate, the opportunity to be on this platform and the gift of your friendship. It means a lot to myself. Because of course it's the friendship I moved to me, to Amaka and also to Jide.
The family friendship now. So, yes. All right. Well, my love to Amaka and Jide, and very excited for everything to come. Obviously, we'll keep in touch. And thanks for listening, everyone, to the episode. And we'll catch you next time. Take care. Bye.